My SIL, Catherine, who invited her lawyer fiancé to our house, looked at me when I brought tea and said,
"She is from a single-parent family, just a high school graduate, but she'll be useful as a maid."
She introduced me that way. Catherine has never even called me by name, let alone SIL. Sure, I may be from a single-parent family and only have a high school diploma, but neither my mother nor I live in a way that we'd be ashamed of. Then, Catherine's fiancé suddenly burst out laughing.
"What are you saying, Catherine? Are you testing me? And not falling for that trick?"
"What?"
Catherine blinked her big eyes. "My name is Alice, 30 years old. Currently, I'm a housewife with a 1-year-old daughter. Before marriage, I worked as a cleaner in a high-rise building. My husband, Thomas, worked for the company in the building. Thomas dislikes crowded elevators and always uses the stairs in the morning. He would always greet me cheerfully as I cleaned the stairs during that time. That's how we met, and we got married after 2 years of dating. Thomas works for a large corporation, and his father is the head of another company's headquarters. I hesitated a little when I received a marriage proposal. I was happy, but I was wondering if he was okay with me growing up in a single-parent family. I've never felt ashamed of it myself, but I knew that family background and education can be issues in marriage. But it was needless worry. My in-laws, John and Sarah, welcomed me and were generous in celebrating our marriage. They suggested living together in a big house when we got married, and we all live together now. My mom usually doesn't interfere, but she always says to rely on her whenever we're in trouble. I'm happy to be a part of such a wonderful family. Among those who make me feel that way, there's one person who troubles me. It was my husband's sister, Catherine.
"Are you kidding me? You didn't go to college."
When my husband introduced me to Catherine, that was her first reaction. Yes, I came from a single-parent family and wanted to start working early to help my mother. As I answered, Catherine twisted her cute face.
"You're from a single-parent family. Is there really someone like that? And you're marrying my brother. It's totally gold digging."
What nonsense are you talking about? Alice isn't thinking about marrying into money.
My husband laughed and didn't pay attention to her.
"Hey, you're being deceived. I'm just worried about my brother."
Yeah, thanks. Both Dad and Mom have accepted and blessed us. Isn't that enough to understand Alice's character?
"Really? Dad and Mom approved it too."
Catherine seemed genuinely surprised. Then, as we passed each other, she glared at me with frustration and whispered to herself so that my husband couldn't hear.
"I'll never accept you as our family."
True to her declaration, even after marriage, Catherine disliked me. Of course, she never called me SIL but instead referred to me as high school graduate. What's despicable about Catherine is that she never utters such words in front of my husband or in-laws. Her harsh words and calling me high school graduate were reserved for when she spoke to me directly. But I couldn't tell my good-natured in-laws about my sister-in-law's harassment. The in-laws don't want to hear their son's wife tell them about her own daughter, and I doubt they will believe it. I told my husband once that I felt like Catherine hated me.
She's spoiled rotten because she's always been pampered. It must irk her that Dad and Mom like Alice.
But my husband just laughed it off. Catherine usually behaves very politely and aristocratically. Even her own brother, Thomas, probably has never seen her true colors. In reality, Catherine attended a prestigious private girls' school from middle school through college, and after graduating, she worked as a receptionist at a major corporation. She's had the epitome of a privileged upbringing.
"Do you even know the educational background and occupation of our family? We're elite. There's no way we could ever accept someone like you, a high school graduate, marrying in for money.
When we were alone, she would insult me like that. That's not it. Please listen. I just married Thomas because I love him.
You just deceived my honest and kind brother. I won't stand for it. I'll expose your true colors and make sure you're driven out.
It seems that Catherine can't stand the idea of a high school graduate like me joining her perfect life as a family member. And that mysterious anger of hers seemed to swell even more when I became pregnant and gave birth. That was when I returned to my in-laws' house after giving birth with our baby girl, Emily, in my arms.
It would have been better if you hadn't come back,
Catherine said without a word of congratulations, looking at me with cold eyes.
You're just trying to secure your place in this house by having a child. That's typical of someone with only a high school education. But even if you pass on those low-class genes, it won't be suitable for our family.
After going through childbirth for the first time and still feeling exhausted, I couldn't help but argue against such cruelty. Forget about me, but don't speak ill of my baby. She is a treasure to Thomas and me.
That's true. It is for you, isn't it?
Catherine smirked maliciously with her refined face.
A child tainted with the genes of a high school graduate isn't intellectually suitable for our household. You should leave with her right away.
How can you say such terrible things? She's your niece.
It's all your fault. Got it? All your fault? If it were someone with a proper background and a good college education marrying my brother, I'd welcome her with open arms.
Look beyond the titles and see the substance of a person. I couldn't help but retort strongly. Catherine's mouth twisted.
Oh, are you feeling feisty today? Do you think you're all high and mighty now that you've had a child? If that child is precious to you, then be mindful of your position.
What a horrible thing to say.
Of course, if you tell on my mom or brother, you won't get away with it.
Catherine looked at Emily in my arms as she said this. I was horrified by her gaze and her words. I was terrified of what she might do to Emily. I had to protect Emily at all costs. As I fell silent, Catherine looked down at me with satisfaction and walked away. After that, I became even more cautious than before to avoid provoking Catherine. I tried my best to avoid any interaction with her and made sure not to say anything unnecessary when we gathered as a family or when Catherine was around. Eventually, I was so preoccupied with taking care of my first child that I didn't have the energy to worry about Catherine anymore. Since Catherine didn't pay as much attention to me as before, I briefly hoped that she had softened her attitude towards Emily's cuteness. But I was wrong.
Oh, enough already. Isn't she crying too much? It's probably because of those genes from a high school graduate.
Catherine would yell like that during the period when Emily cried a lot at night. Babies cry, you know?
I'm telling you, her crying is abnormal. Normally they stop crying right away, don't they? Can't you even take care of a child properly? You really can't do anything.
I thought Catherine, yelling with a devilish expression, was much noisier. In fact, neither my husband nor my in-laws would wake up even when Emily cried at night. Well, I think my husband could wake up if he wanted to. Even when talking to friends who had children of the same age, Emily's crying, which would stop as soon as she was picked up, seemed adorable. But of course, I wouldn't say that out loud. With little sleep and exhausted from childcare, I didn't have the energy to argue back at that time. In the end, the only thing that changed was that there were fewer opportunities for her to curse at me, as I was busy taking care of the baby all the time. She hadn't changed at all. If anything, her attitude towards me had become harsher. Still, as long as I endured it, everything else in this household went smoothly. I spent my days supported by the love for my daughter. More than a year passed in this way. Then, one day, the living room was buzzing with the news that Catherine was getting married. It seemed that there would be a meeting between the two families at a restaurant. While changing my daughter's diaper and listening from behind, Catherine approached me.
My fiancé will come over next week. Make sure you behave properly.
Isn't it a meeting at the restaurant?
Yes, at a high-end restaurant. But my brother insisted on introducing him to everyone at home.
I see. Congratulations.
You will serve us tea then. By the way, my fiancé is a lawyer.
What, a lawyer? Catherine seemed pleased with my reaction.
Are you that surprised? Well, you wouldn't have a chance to meet someone like him, being a high school graduate and all.
No, that's not what I meant.
Your acquaintance is only the cleaning lady. There's a world of difference, isn't there?
There's no difference in occupation. The seniors at my workplace are all respectable people.
Yay, it's a small world, isn't it? You should learn your place properly. Anyway, serve us tea, will you?
For Catherine, who prioritized status, having a lawyer as her fiancé was something to boast about. She's still the same as ever. By the way, her fiancé is a lawyer. At night, even my husband mentioned it.
Next week, Catherine's bringing her fiancé over to introduce him to us, so be nice, okay?
Sure, I heard. She asked me to serve them tea.
Oh, really? I see. Since Mom and Dad are going shopping before heading to the restaurant, they're not here, right? Then I'll watch over Emily while they're gone.
Okay. I heard Catherine's fiancé is a lawyer.
Seems like it.
Do you know his name?
Yay, I know it.
Tell me. And also, there's something I need to talk to you about.
What's that?
And then the day arrived. My in-laws had left earlier, and Catherine arrived with her fiancé.
Hey, bro, this is my fiancé, Daniel.
Nice to meet you. I'm Daniel.
I'm Thomas, her brother. Nice to meet you, too.
As my husband exchanged greetings, Emily, who had been napping, woke up, and her cries could be heard.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
As my husband left the living room, I went to get some tea and sweets.
Thank you.
Daniel, Catherine's fiancé, said politely. But Catherine, with a quick glance at me, said to her fiancé,
Daniel, doesn't this woman look like a maid? She's technically my SIL, but I'd rather not call her that.
What?
Yay, you can't tell, can you? She's from a single-parent family, just a high school graduate, but she'd be useful as a housekeeper.
She introduced me that way. It's true I'm from a single-parent family, and I'm just a high school graduate, but neither my mother nor I lead lives to be ashamed of. Then, Catherine's fiancé suddenly burst out laughing.
What are you saying, Catherine? Are you testing me? I won't fall for that.
What?
Catherine's eyes widened in surprise.
You're trying to see how I'll react, right? Testing my character.
Wait, what are you saying, Daniel?
Well, what?
She's married to my brother, but she's not our family. Just think of her as a housekeeper.
Okay, Catherine, that's enough. You surprised me.
How come?
It's surprising that Catherine's SIL is the daughter of Maria, a lawyer. What a small world.
What are you talking about?
Catherine exclaimed in shock. Then, Daniel turned to me.
Long time no see. You're Alice, right? I'm Daniel, who was doing legal training at the law firm where your mother worked.
Yeah, it's been a while, Daniel. You've really become quite impressive.
Oh, I'm still far from it. But it's surprising, isn't it, to meet again like this? How's your mom doing?
Hey, wait a minute. Are you acquainted?
As Daniel and I smiled at each other, Catherine's voice suddenly changed. He answered, looking puzzled.
What are you talking about? This was supposed to be a surprise, you know. Back in the day, I really looked up to Maria.
Who is that Maria, the lawyer?
Maria is Alice's mother.
What?
Catherine was momentarily shocked, then burst into laughter.
Daniel, you've got the wrong person. Oh, this is too funny.
You think that's funny?
This woman here is a high school graduate, and it's just her and her mother. Her mother's only a high school graduate. There's no way a poor family like that could know someone like you.
As Catherine proudly spoke, his expression gradually changed. Oh no, is this okay?
So, were you serious earlier? About calling your SIL Alice a housekeeper?
As if unaware of his changing tone, Catherine continued to laugh.
So you don't have to call her sister. Just think of her as a high school graduate. She deceived my brother into marrying her for money.
Catherine, you're not acting, are you? Do you really believe that?
Yay, so don't worry. You don't have to consider her part of your family even if you marry me.
Right. I see.
The mismatched conversation between Catherine, who seemed oblivious to everything, and her fiancé, who seemed to have figured it all out, was comical.
Well, let's head to the restaurant where Mom and Dad are waiting.
No, I can't go.
What's wrong?
I'm calling off our engagement.
What are you talking about?
Catherine's voice rose sharply as she forced a smile.
I'm disappointed to find out what kind of person you really are. Speaking ill of your brother's wife, who's become family.
Wait, why does our engagement have to end because of that? You don't say such things to other people. You're saying she's not suitable for my brother or even you because she's a high school graduate from a single-parent family, right?
Panicking, Catherine continued to heap scorn upon me.
So, you're looking down on Alice just because she's a high school graduate from a single-parent family.
He took a deep breath.
This woman is the daughter of a lawyer I deeply respect.
What's going on?
Catherine's eyes widened.
That means you've got the wrong person, right? It's impossible. Could the daughter of the lawyer be a high school graduate, and before marriage, she worked as a cleaner?
You judge people based on their profession and education, don't you?
Is it wrong?
Catherine's expression changed at her fiancé's icy tone.
You can become a lawyer even without graduating from college. Don't you know that?
Is it really?
Daniel, can I talk? I interjected, turning to him for confirmation before facing Catherine. True, my mother and I both graduated from high school. But my mother is a lawyer.
A high school graduate can't take the bar exam.
Sure, to take the bar exam, you have to either study at a law school or pass a preliminary exam. My mother studied hard and passed the preliminary exam, qualifying to take the bar exam.
A preliminary exam.
It's an exam that proves the same level of competence as graduating from law school. It requires tremendous effort, but for a high school graduate, this would be the quickest route.
Catherine's fiancé added.
Do you really think only those who graduate from a university's law school can become lawyers? You who graduated from a good university must know better than that, right?
I didn't know that.
What about after passing the bar exam?
I know about that. Just passing the bar exam isn't enough. You have to undergo a year-long apprenticeship to become a lawyer, right?
Yes, legal apprenticeship.
And she passed that while raising a child in a single-parent household.
That's why I graduated high school.
Is that so?
My mom decided to become a lawyer, so she studied tirelessly while working. It took her 3 years to pass the preliminary exam, and she passed the bar exam on her second attempt. That was when I was in 9th grade.
And
Apprentices receive a stipend and housing allowance, but it's just enough to focus on their training without worrying about living expenses. It wouldn't be enough with a child. I nodded and continued. My mom married and gave birth to me by running away couple when she was young, so she couldn't rely on her parents even after the divorce. She encouraged me to go to college, but I chose to work.
are you that proud? You're still a high school graduate.
I've seen firsthand how hard my mom studied. I wanted her to be able to dedicate herself to her apprenticeship without worrying about money. That's why working and earning money was the best option for me at the time. I still believe that, and I have no regrets. Then I heard a sobbing sound.
Sniff, sniff.
Mom, are you crying about this story again?
Because it can't be helped.
Mom, Thomas.
Catherine paled as she saw Thomas holding his daughter and her mother suddenly entering.
Mom, why are you here? Since when?
I knew from the start, from when you started calling Alice a maid or something.
Oh, no.
You were worried about Alice's lack of education at first, but then you stopped saying anything, so I thought you understood. But turns out, you were just putting on an act in front of us.
That is.
Alice never snitched on anyone, you know. But after our baby was born, when even Emily became the target of your criticism, she finally opened up to me.
Even John and I couldn't believe it, that Catherine would look down on Alice and bully her.
Well, Mom, that's not it.
It's too late now.
What?
Thomas asked me to leave and come back today because I didn't believe him when he told me.
Oh my God.
Do you have any idea how shocked I was seeing your completely different side?
Oh no.
With a flat tone, my Mill said something completely different from the emotional state she was in just now.
I also connected John, who's at the restaurant, on the phone.
What do you mean?
Unfortunately, it seems like we'll have to cancel.
Why would you do that?
I'm sorry, Sarah, for deciding to break off the engagement without asking.
Daniel, I should be the one apologizing. Sorry for what our daughter did.
Wait a minute, what's going on here? Hold on.
Catherine looked like she was about to burst into tears any moment now.
It's a relief that your fiancé is a decent guy. I thought he'd know Alice's mom at least when he said he's a lawyer. Never thought they'd actually know each other.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I exchanged glances with my husband.
What's going on exactly? What does this mean?
Catherine glared at me, her eyes watery. I told you before we got married that my mom's a lawyer, but you don't remember, how? You never intended to become family with me, who is from a single-parent family, did you? Maybe you didn't even listen.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Your fiancé mentioned being a lawyer, so I passed on the name to my mom. I never thought he'd be someone who was in legal training.
And then what did you do?
I didn't do anything.
Don't lie to me.
I just got a call from Maria, that's all. She just told me congratulations on my engagement.
Oh, what?
I haven't told my mom or Daniel about what you did. If you had introduced me to them as just a normal SIL, none of this would have happened.
That is not.
Catherine turned pale.
But even if your mom is a liar, the fact remains that you are a high school graduate and haven't done any studying. Once your mom started making money, you relied on that, and now you're relying on a rich big brother.
No, Alice has a qualification as a judicial scrivener.
Really? A judicial scrivener?
Catherine's eyes widened.
She studied while working as a cleaner.
Following in my mom's footsteps. Now I'm focusing on raising my kid, though.
And she also has a qualification as a cleaner. What was it again, you know?
A professional house cleaner. It's a national qualification.
Seriously.
That's impressive.
Daniel said admiringly. You look down on cleaners, but I think it's an important job. Your prestigious alma mater and big corporations stay clean because of people doing that kind of work, you know?
Maybe.
And when I started working after high school, my seniors and colleagues never looked down on me. They all taught me the job carefully, and I respect them as people. Daniel nodded.
Your ability to go to a good university on an escalator is thanks to your parents, right? Have you shown gratitude or put in effort yourself? I have way more respect for people who work hard in society, even if they only have a high school education, than those who look down on others based on their academic background.
Hey, Daniel.
I was really disappointed in you.
Hey, why? Why am I going through this? Why?
Surrounded by everyone's cold gaze, Catherine broke down in tears. After that, the engagement was called off, and no matter how much Catherine begged, it couldn't be reversed. Our usually mild-mannered Mill and Phil were furious after hearing the whole story.
Try living on your own strength for once.
And they kicked Catherine out of the house. Catherine, who had been boasting about marrying a lawyer, couldn't bear the curious looks from others and ended up quitting her job. Because she's so proud and concerned about her status, finding a new job is proving difficult. She sometimes comes back home to seek forgiveness, but she's promptly sent away at the front door by her parents. I once said to Catherine, "Should I introduce you to a cleaning job?"
Don't be ridiculous. There's no way I'd do such a bottom-tier job.
And she shouted and stormed out, even though there's still hope if she could just ask for help here. People really don't change that easily. As for me, I've been relieved of the suffocation I felt alone and have been raising my children freely. I was apologized to by my in-laws and husband, and I apologized to them for keeping quiet. Our family bond seems to have deepened even more. Catherine's ex-fiancé, Daniel, reunited with my mother, and she was also delighted. I couldn't become a brother-in-law with him, but I think we can continue to have a good relationship.
Mom, it's here.
My 2-year-old daughter, who can now speak 2-word sentences, said excitedly. Emily. As I picked her up, she giggled happily. I've promised myself to continue living in a way that I won't be ashamed of to this child, just like my mother did for me. As I looked at my daughter's innocent smile, I made a vow in my heart.